Welcome, Baroque Decay fans. It's not usual for us to take time communicating with fans while we work on a new project, because development takes up all of our time and energy. In this chronicle, we'd like to briefly discuss 3 different topics. We can't guarantee frequent updates and new devlogs, so we're using this as a way for our team to confirm that we are alive and well while we continue working on something new. The end of Yuppie Psycho. Yuppie Psycho is our second and, to date, most recent title. We started working on it back in 2016 when other games like Stardew Valley, Valhalla, and Inside were being released. Our original idea was for our first game, The Count Lucanor, to pass the baton to our new title and improve upon certain aspects to make it closer to the ideal game we wanted to create. Among the most pressing changes, we wanted a more empathetic and vulnerable protagonist who reacted to his environment, a setting separated from conventional fantasy that felt familiar and grounded, and a title that was easier to pronounce in English, as well as creating new mechanics and other technical improvements that were less ostentatious, but necessary. While we expected a positive result due to the reception of The Count Lucanor, everything that Yuppie Psycho achieved has taken us by surprise. Development took 3 years between 2016 and 2019, adding an additional year and a half to include the release of Yuppie Psycho's free DLC included in the Executive Edition. The base game was received so well that we wanted to add more to the experience, including more quests, story, levels, and characters. This update took so long because the development took place as we had begun working on porting Yuppie Psycho to consoles. We handled all the work ourselves to ensure quality. It was a very complicated job. Our games are based on our own Java engine, which isn't the most compatible with current consoles, so we had to convert Yuppie Psycho to monogame. Regardless of how long the process took, it allowed us to continue adding new DLC content, with the added bonus of including feedback from fans of the base game to take note of what worked and expand the game's universe. Nothing exemplifies that better than Tiki Taka, a character that functioned as the final boss of the security floor and as an alter ego representing our fans. Finally, there was the physical release of Yuppie Psycho and the campaigns for the plushies, both of which are only available for a limited time. You can check out how to get some of these exclusive items using the links on the description of this video. This merchandise is something that was done at the end of the process, but it helps maintain Yuppie Psycho's fanbase, and, well, we like having physical merchandise representing our work. The booklet and many other add-ons that come with the European edition of the game took several months of work. We will continue to make more plushies if we see that fans show interest in them. Feel free to tell us in the comments which would be your favorite character to have as a plush. You can learn about the development process and what things we learned along the way in the post-mortem that was published on GameDeveloper.com. Additionally, you can even find game sprites and sound effects available for free on our Discord server. But the big question is, what's next? Don't expect Yuppie Psycho 2. Which doesn't mean it's been completely ruled out, but our attention is currently set on other projects. That's what we're here to talk about today. The other projects. Afterlife Pharmaceuticals. During the process that followed the original release of Yuppie Psycho, when we were still working to accomplish all the goals I previously described, the possibility arose to start developing something in parallel. This required a new team while the rest of us focused on finishing Yuppie Psycho. We came up with this project during the worst of the global COVID pandemic, which inspired a medical setting centered on a protagonist who is always sick and isolated at home. When he finally goes outside, he discovers a world that's gone mad. What made it more interesting to change teams was opening up the possibility that came with exploring other genres and styles. This project was going to allow us to go through spaces in 3 dimensions, inspired by games released on the original PlayStation. The gameplay was focused on combat and exploration, where the only defenses the protagonist had was the ability to recruit anthropomorphic medicines to fight for him, a mix between Pikmin and survival horror. However, this isn't our next project. In reality, this project had to be put on hold due to various production issues related to funding and design, as well as the new team's urgency to develop other projects. This doesn't mean that the project is dead. It's currently paused with the hope of resuming in the future, once we finish our next project. And now, let's talk about what's coming next. Our new game. Codename Project Mosquito. What is Project Mosquito? Well, it's our next project. And this time, it's another step forward in our unique style of games. Fans of the Count Lucanor and Yuppie Psycho will be happy to know that Project Mosquito stays in the same vein as those games, working almost like a trilogy of one-shot stories. It's a game with survival horror elements and an action-focused environment, but will still have comedy, memorable characters, and a strong narrative. While Lucanor borrowed many of its ideas from fairy tales, and Yuppie from the standard office environment in the 80s and 90s, Project Mosquito is set in an urban present, feeling much more familiar, yet still having an eerie and surreal aesthetic. Of course, Michael Garrod-Kelly is returning to work on Project Mosquito's original soundtrack, which you've been listening to throughout this video. We're working hard on defining the basics of the game and creating a strong prototype. It's still at an early but promising stage in development. It will still take more time to be finished and released, at least a couple of years. That's all we can say for the moment. If you want to know more about Project Mosquito, we hope to officially announce the game and its official title later this year. Stay tuned and follow us on social media, our Twitter, and our Discord, where we frequently drop images and hints ahead of the official announcement. See you sooner than you think.